So one day, I'm driving home on Route 66. I used to have to keep the clean fuel tag so I could be moving on the road. I had the windows down. I was singing along to this Ed Sheeran song, Castle on the Hill. And I always keep the windows down, because I do it for the fans. That's why I do that. And I lost my breath. And I couldn't get it back. And I went home, I got my parents over dinner that night. My dad and I were having a scotch after dinner, and I told them I can't breathe, I can't take a deep breath. And it was frightening. Now, as a lot of men in this room may know, I had not been to the doctor in, let's say, just a period of time at this point. And I made an appointment, and I went in, and I met a man named Dr. Celiac, and I learned a lot really, really quickly. So he came in, introduced himself. I told him I couldn't breathe, right? And he took a stethoscope. And what I learned is, first of many things I learned is that there are degrees of stethoscopes. I did not know this. He basically had the Amazon Basics stethoscope. He listened to my chest, he listened to my back. And he said to me, I met this man for a total of 20 seconds. He goes, "Do you have a cardiologist?" And I said, "No." And he went, "You do now." And then he left the room. And so I sat there like, I don't know what the fuck that just was. But it sure shit didn't feel good. Then he came in and took an EKG, told me he made an appointment for me to meet the cardiologist 2 days later. And we didn't really get a lot of information. 2 days later, I brought my wife with me, and we met our cardiologist, a man named Dr. Trevidi. And he had the advanced stethoscope, same routine. And he sat down, this is in March, and he said, "I have to have you in for surgery no later than September." At which point I said, "Look, I need to be romanced." And what we came to learn is I have a bad valve. I had a bad valve, obviously, on here. This is a spoiler, by the way. And it was like, think of it like a door, and this side of the door didn't work. And what's happening was none of many factors, not enough blood was in my lungs. So, we met with a surgeon, a man named Dr. Soren, and he taught this procedure, which we were very, very excited about. He did 50 of these procedures a year, and had the option of going to multiple hospitals, one in DC, and one at Inova Fairfax, which is known as a level 1 trauma center. I don't know what hell that means, but they brag on it quite a bit. It's their resume. So, I had the opportunity to speak to the man who used to head the cardiac wing at Inova Fairfax. And what he told me was that you cannot look at the doctors are everywhere. You have to look one level down at the PAs, physician assistants, and the nurses. And if you do that, then Inova has the best people in the world. So, yeah, I'm not a fool. I'm going to listen to the cardiologist. So that's where we went. And so this is a little bit, and I'm going to include Dr. Celiac and Dr. Trevidi and Dr. Soren. This is a relatively quick story about the 7 people who saved my life, and unfortunately how I treated them as a patient. And for those who've never seen me before, it's important to note, I say this every time I come here, you've heard wonderful, incredible stories tonight. I want you all to know right now, there is no learning in my stories. No one is a better person at the end of my stories. I'm very human in that regard, unfortunately. So, we went in for surgery. Wife was stressed, my parents were stressed, everything. I had to fill out a DNR. If you don't know what that is, it's a do not resuscitate. I took that process very seriously. It's still sitting on my Facebook page if you'd scroll a little further down. And included in there, I made it clear that I wanted my eyes donated to Major League umpire Joe Lieberman. And then I wanted to be cremated, and I want my ashes dumped in the gas tank of the doctor who let me die. And I went so far as to bring a Ralph's coffee can from the Big Lebowski actually into the surgical area. So I still have it. It's still sitting on the shelf with a bottle of Kahlua at my house. We went in. I was told it was August 2nd that the procedure would be at 9 a.m. 4 p.m. I would be in what's called step-down intensive recovery, and that everything, the breathing tube, is called a main line, and most importantly, the catheter, would have all been removed before I woke up. And with that, they put me under. So when I woke up, there was a day-a-week calendar on the wall, and it was August 3rd. And I had a breathing tube in, and that is not a thing I would wish on my worst enemy. A main line and a catheter in, and have your hands tied down with a breathing tube. And I woke up, the Christmas tree, as I refer to it, your stands, all your lines and drains and computers went off like a siren because my heart rate shot up through the sky. And a nurse named Rebecca came in. And you know, nurses, you've seen it all, right? I mean, that's a tough job, and it's very grounded in reality. She came in, she was able to soothe me, and she's like, we're gonna take the breathing tube out first, we're gonna take out your main line, and then we're gonna take out your catheter. And if you have, fortunately, I wish this on all of you, never had the opportunity to experience this, nurses remove everything as if they're starting a lawnmower. So, breathing tube was a, you know, if you can imagine, she was over at John Deere like this. Got it in one pull, got the main line in one pull. Catheter though, that was a 3 pull. That was an older engine. Doesn't work quite as well. And look, I'm gonna be honest with you, as I say, I'm an Italian from New Jersey. I'm like, shit got said in that room. It did. You know, she was a trooper. She brought me some bone broth, which was I'm telling you, to this day, it was the finest thing I've ever tasted in my life in that moment. And my wife apologized to her. It was upwards of 100 times. And I think I said some other shit. But when they finally wheeled me out of there, I was conscious enough to apologize and say that I appreciate that I'm not a very good patient, but I do value everything you did for me here. And then I got back they got me in a room. And what we learned is that there are 5 things you have to do before you can leave the hospital after your heart surgery. You have to get your blood sugar right. You have to drain any excess fluid. You have to clear your lungs. You have to walk for 20 minutes. And you have to poop. And I was prepared for all of this. I had brought my own pillow to the hospital. I knew it would be there for a minute. I bought a Captain America robe off of Amazon, and I had a Bluetooth speaker with me. And I was prepared to sit up there for a little bit. So the first night was a nurse named Lindsay, and she had to check my blood sugar to make sure it came down. And they do this by waking you up every 45 minutes to prick a different finger. And this goes on for about a day and a half. And again, and she's doing her job, and she was an absolute trooper. I'm telling you, man, shit got said. You know, if you're trying to sleep after major surgery, every 45 minutes someone's coming in to stab you in the finger. Like it takes a lot of grace to ride out that moment. But she did a very good job with it. And actually, for her, it actually turned the corner from like a little bit funny to like really frustrating to like ha funny. Because like by the 11th time, I mean, legitimately, she was laughing her ass out from my reaction to it, and I completely deserved it. I did. The next nurse I had was a woman named Christy, and she had the dual role of getting me on a path to get all the excess water weight out of my body, and if you've ever been under anesthesia for more than 24 hours, it's quite a lot. And also to check to make sure that I did not get the staph infection that was going on in the hospital. So my first full day in my new digs, she came in and said, "You need to take your temperature." And I said, "Okay." And I went like this, like, and she went, "No." So I took my temperature, okay. And then she gave me one little pill. It was about maybe half the size of a Tic Tac. It's a thing called LASIK, not the eye. And you take one of these, and then I have to check on you all day to make sure that you're shedding your water weight. And I had a thing you have to pee into, and you have a whiteboard, and you have to keep track of how much fluid you lose during the day. And I don't know what medicine people were trying to invent when they made LASIK, because it was not this. Because what that one little pill did, and what this poor woman Christy had to check on all day, I peed over 10 pounds out in a 12-hour period. And when I tell you all here, I have never physically felt better in my life than I did dropping that weight, man. Lindsay had to come back on day 3, where they had to start working on my lungs. Now, if you've ever done any of those cardiac surgery, they give you a little heart pillow and they tell you to hold this, and if you cough, it's going to make it not hurt. That is a bunch of horse shit. That does not work at all. And what happens is you're supposed to cough up everything in your lungs over a multi-day period. I did it once. I made this horrific, horrible coughing noise. I'm like, and she saw it, and she went and got a styrofoam cup, and this was some Lord of the Rings shit. And she just went, lean your head forward. And I'm not going to go too hard on it because I know everyone's had things to eat now. You ever drop lunch meat on the floor, that thwack noise? That's what it was. And it hit, and because there was so much blood in my lungs, like it really looked like it had veins. It was horrific. And I'm going to give you the barometer for horrific, which I did not know was a thing. If you can make a nurse go, bitch, you have achieved something. I can tell you that is a checkbox right there. Right? Then, the last gentleman I had was the PA. His name was Steve. And he has helped me walk a little bit. I take my Christmas tree, and I have my Captain America robe. And I go out for maybe 2 laps at a time. And I noticed that I'm the only person on the cardiac ward that does not have a favorite episode of Matlock. And that's the time I'm there. And then he comes in, and I have what are called wires and then a main drain in my chest. The wires there, so if you, rather than paddle you're walking around with the box. The drain line is a placeable suitcase you have to carry around for whatever else is left behind by God in surgery. And he says, we're gonna take this all out now. Now, like, I don't know about you guys. My brain is that's described as a poorly functioning committee. The best part is back here. This is the non-stone, well-thinking part of my brain while this is happening. And it's everything about Steve is strange to me. So he takes off his shirt in the hospital, and he's got on the Sonny Corleone, and then he's like wearing cologne, but like not like regular cologne, but like going out cologne. Just really, wafting off. And I'm very comfortable to say, like the man is an LA 9. He's a good-looking guy, and he just, all right, Joe, we're gonna do this now. It's gonna be very gentle, and the 2 wires coming out of your chest, we're gonna do those first. And the little part of my brain that works properly, I watch this guy with these wires, rather than like get ready to pull them, with both hands he goes like this, and he wraps it. And again, that little part of my brain went, oh! And then he said, and I'm sure, you gotta find your phone when you can. He said, I'm gonna count to 3. And then he said, 1. Now, this man was about 6'3", and I'm telling you right now, if he'd been 6'2", he wasn't getting all that shit out. Because there was so much of it that he pulled and ran. And eventually, I swear to God, I could hear it going like this. And now I'm just stunned, like, oh my God. And then he's like, we're gonna get the tube now. And I don't even have time to react. He grabs this thing, and there's also way more of it than I realized. And it's about the width of a garden hose. And you ever have those moments in your life where, like, everything's silent, there's no other noise? There was no noise until I heard and out. And then then he was like, he's got all this shit on the floor now. He's like, I'm gonna have somebody come in and get this. And he left my life, probably to pursue an incredible career of modeling and just being awesome. And then, this is obviously a very paraphrased moment in time. And then Lindsay was back on the day. I had told these people at the beginning, at all stages, I had to leave on Saturday. Our kids were going to camp. They weren't going to leave. Their dad was in the hospital. And also Game of Thrones was on the next day. This was before you realized how shitty the last 2 seasons were going to be. And you still had hope. So I was clinging to that. And I got up, and they said to me, that, like, you have to walk 20 minutes straight to get out of here today. And I got up, and I had my Christmas tree, and I cinched up my Captain America robe like the baddest ass 5-year-old you ever met. And I took my Bluetooth speaker and I clicked it to my Captain America robe, and I put on the Rocky theme on repeat. And I walked that circle for for 20 straight minutes, to the point where even the Matlock fans would cheer me on as I went on. And I was so exhausted at the end of this, but I knew I had one last task. And so I went into the bathroom, I closed the door, and I could hear the doctor, the attending who can actually let me leave this hellhole, outside. And I just screamed like, "I'm pooping! Don't leave!" And he said, "I'll be back." No. I need you to stay here. And he did. And I got home. And the kids went to camp. And my wife had to put up with a horrific week of me being impatient. And it was that episode of Game of Thrones where somehow Daenerys got from fucking Dragonstone to the north in like 10 minutes. It was just horrible fucking writing at the end. It really was. It was such a shame. And I want to be clear that none of this seems on theme, right? Like we've had things that tie into the concept of a mad world. And I'm not mad. I want to be clear on that. I'm fucking furious. Because Dr. Phelan is from Ireland. Dr. Dravetti from India. Dr. Storm from Canada. Rebecca was from Wales, not England, you motherfucker. Lindsay was from Africa. I don't apologize, I'm in the country. Christy was from actual England. And Steve was from Spain. Every one of those people was an immigrant. And they saved my life.